Maybe. All right, it's recording now. Okay. Awesome. Okay, guys, we have a super special guest today. I've been trying to get him to do this for like months. I'm so freaking excited. Today, we have Brent Buchanan from Zero G Quail Farm, and he is going to impart some knowledge on us about raising quail for falconry, um, and that aspect to add to your business because there's a lot of intricacies I think a lot of people don't think about. So, our topic today is whether that is the right avenue for you to go with your business. So we'll start with, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about your farm, Brent?
Okay, so my name is Brent Buchanan. I'm the owner of Zero G Quail Farm. We're a veteran-owned and operated quail farm in Florence, Colorado. So that's about 2 hours south of Denver. We've been doing this now for about 2.5 years as a full-on business, but we did a lot of sales for over a year as just kind of side business, local people, taking care of people that were interested in knew what quail were. Um, we pretty much have expanded over the past couple of years, and then especially this year and the tail end of last year, we've really gotten into and been supporting a lot of falconry customers out here. And that's really kind of become a thing that a lot of people are asking about, how we got into it, how we started doing it, and then if it works or if it can work for somebody else. And I think that's kind of where we're going to go with that today and get you guys all lined up.
Okay, awesome. So I will, do you want me to just go ahead and pull the slide up?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. All right. So why don't you tell us, why don't you just take over?
Yeah, no,
Like,
you're good.
you're the one with all the knowledge.
Well, and so we're gonna do this a little different because I know we're gonna do these for a couple of parts. Because this is a lot of knowledge and a lot of stuff to kind of wrap
Yeah,
your head around.
it
Um,
really is.
yeah, and it's one of those things where if we can improve what's happening and be able to get good goals out of it, then let's do it. But the main thing that a lot of people have to look at is really why this may not work for you. That's one of the biggest things that we've found is that a lot of people are trying to almost force a situation to occur to where they can make a sale.
Mhm.
Or they can be in this business, or they can be, expanding their business. But what we found was that there's a lot of stuff to where it just won't work. So, I guess really the first thing is, can you even legally do it in your state? There's a couple of states where you cannot sell your quail for pet food purposes unless you get special licenses, special
Mhm.
insurances, stuff like that. Here in Colorado, we can sell it, but there's certain conditions on how we can sell it and the way we sell it. And one of those, thankfully, is that we can sell the whole bird in a frozen or dispatched state, which allows the falconry guys to be able to use them for pet food
Mhm.
for their falcons. Um, if that legally wasn't able to be happened in Colorado, then it'd be kind of a dead mute point because we are a full business, we are an LLC, and we do have to comply with those types of laws. It's not worth the big fines that you're going to
Mhm.
try and do it in the backyard. So that's really the first thing. You have to look into it and see if your state even allows it.
Mhm.
If it doesn't, then the whole trying to get into this business is kind of a mute point for you.
Yeah.
And I think for you up in Utah, I think you guys are able to do that type of stuff because I know you do your pet treats and stuff like that up
Yeah,
that
they're
way.
not real strict about pet treats. They're way more strict in Utah about human consumption. Like
Right.
they'll
And
allow a certain extent of selling directly to the customer, but like if you want to do anything restaurant wise, it's a whole lots of licensing and paperwork and a lot of money to like throw into it. So it's not really feasible for like a backyard person like me.
right. And even here for Colorado, we're really even restricted even for doing two people sales as well.
Hmm.
So that's something that everybody has to look at is, can you even legally get into the falconry side of this? Um, the next thing is there even a market? Um, do you have falconers in your area? If you don't have falconers, you're not going to have anybody to sell to.
Hmm.
Um, This isn't just something that you're going to be able to ship out or ship across state lines, because there are some legalities with that as well. So you have to make sure you have like a local market to be able to sell your birds at. If you don't have that local support, then it's just not going
Hmm.
to. There's several ways you can find um, falconers, mainly through a lot of online searches. There's YouTube, or not YouTube, there's Facebook groups. Um, there's also listings specifically online for falconry organizations as well. And that'll kind of point you in the right direction and give you kind of a feel of, if you don't even have a state association um, of these guys, it's probably a pretty small percentage of people are going to be up in that area that are going to be able
Right.
to be a customer base for you. The next part is, does falconry fit with your goals of your farm? Um, you raise your quail different than I raise my quail. We know a lot of people that have set up their farm to be more of a homestead.
Hmm.
They're raising quail for self-sufficiency and stuff like that. Is your goal to continue doing that for self-sufficiency, or are you actually ready to make that change into a business? Um, you have to decide where you're going to go with what your farm is, because it's just not going to fit. If you're not willing to make this a true business, the falconers have to have, steady supply of birds, and they have to be able to trust that you're going to be able to supply them.
Hmm.
And if you're just kind of doing it as a hobby and you don't really have that type of input or, um, you know, that drive to make those types of sales, it's just not going to work for you, or you're going to end up burning your customer base in the process.
And they really do. Like every time I've sold to anybody, even if it's just like a sparse amount that I happen to have in the freezer that were extra, they always have been like, when will you have more? How often can you provide me this much? Like they immediately up front are like, especially if they can get it locally and they don't have to pay the shipping fees and everything. Um, yeah, they definitely want people that can continuously supply.
Right, and that leads us into the final, real main major point of if this can work for you. Is your operation even big enough to handle the type of need that your area may have? Now, there's nothing saying you have to be able to cover everybody, but if you're going to have a customer base, can you even cover that minimum customer base expectations? Um, you know, and the other thing too is your business even set up, or your farm even set up to support those types of sales?
Hmm.
Are you hatching chicks regularly? If you're not hatching, then how are you going to be able to supply those birds in the first place? Are you able to hatch and have enough birds to grow out and space to grow out, to meet the weight restrictions?
Hmm.
In general, most of these falconers are feeding anywhere from, I think it's like 200 grams up to 600 grams worth of meat, in a 1 or 2 day time period, depending on the type of bird. So you're looking at a 10-week-old bird lasting you about 2 days.
Hmm.
So are you supplying somebody, a 10-day supply? You have to kind of look at the math on that and what you can or can't do with what your current business is set up
Hmm.
as.
Yeah, that's true. Because if it's not a continual process of hatching and culling and like meeting your goals, then it's obviously not going to work because it's going to be sparse when you have grow out size birds.
Right. And like, you're gonna have to sit on these birds. If your current farm is only 50 birds, um, most of our standing weekly orders are 50 birds. So
Hmm.
right there in one order for one customer, you're wiping out your entire population, if you're a small farm. Now, there's nothing saying you need to have several thousand birds on site to be able to handle these customers, because we only keep 300 in site or on site for our breeding sets. And we're still able to cover and take care of our customers the way that we want to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something you have to look at, though. If you're a real small homestead, now you're looking at how much space is it going to take to grow all those birds out. Can you even physically fit all those birds in your area?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't. There's no just magical snap your finger and the bird goes from a chick to turn
Right.
into a bird.
Unless you get seals, birds, and kind of.
Mhm.
All right. Well, yeah. Is there anything else you want? I know we're going to do like several parts on this. So this is like the first part of like, to decide if you decide it's not for you, then it's not for you. But if you decide it is, then we're going to share more information and you can kind of watch the series and learn more about it. So is there
Yeah,
anything else?
we'll do
Oh,
a
sorry.
couple more parts of this and get everybody more education, but this is the main thing. This is where, like, the first thing when people ask me, hey, how did you get into this? And I want to get into it. Okay, well, you need to decide if it really could even work for you in the first
Mm-hmm.
place. um, you know if you have to realize the realities of it. It's not just something that I recommend somebody jumping into and expecting that this is exactly how I'm going to support my farm.
Mm-hmm.
If you're needing a financial source to support your farm, falconry is not it. Um,
Yeah.
you're going to have way too much time and input, way too much overhead expense to be able to handle a lot of this stuff, especially if you're a small farm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just not practical for some people. And, if sometimes you look at it from why it won't work, then you start to realize why it could work. But these are the main hurdles you got to look at before you even decide if you can even try and do it.
Hey, awesome. Well, yeah, I'm excited to continue the series and thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Brent, for imparting knowledge on us. And I am excited for the series to come. Make sure you guys like and subscribe so that you get all the updates when the rest of the videos come out. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.